Good morning, everybody. I'd like to call this Municipal Planning Commission meeting to order. The Municipal Planning Commission is conducting this meeting in person and via conference call in accordance with the Municipal Government Act, Section 199. Council chambers is now open for public attendance in person. However, members may join meetings remotely using our current teleconferencing process. As per Wheatland County Policy 7.13, members of the public are not permitted to speak unless the Commission agrees to hear from them. If the Commission agrees to allow the public to speak, the Chair will call upon the specific individual at that time. Please note that this call is being recorded and will be uploaded to our website and or social media. For any individuals using the conference call line, we ask that you mute your phone to eliminate background noise. Everyone has the right to be present at a Municipal Planning Commission meeting. Any attendees that are considered disruptive to the progression of this meeting may be removed at the discretion of the Chair as per Municipal Government Act, Section 198. We thank you for your cooperation and understanding. I will take a roll call for Commissioner Eichert is here. Commissioner Link.
Good morning.
Commissioner Clausen.
Present.
Commissioner Bigger.
Present.
Commissioner Laprise.
I'm here on the line.
Commissioner Kester. Commissioner Kester. Commissioner Laursen.
Here.
Thank you very much. We have an agenda in front of us. Are there any additions?
Matt from administration through the chair. There is an addition. We can throw that under item 2.2.6. It's DP 2022-058. It was circulated to the commission yesterday.
Thank you. Any other? Seeing none, have someone from the commission move the agenda?
So moved.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Link. We have a copy of the unapproved minutes from March 8th, 2022. Any changes? If not, Commission's wishes.
I'll move the minutes be adopted as presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Laursen. Did I? Sorry, I think I screwed up on the last one because I didn't ask if there was anyone opposed, because we'll be voting by exemption, and that was my call, my bad. So was there any? There was no. I'll try to get this out of my head here. So the adoption of the minutes, there's no objections. Are there any objections to the minutes? If not, that is carried. We will get on to the show here. I promise, people. I promise. We'll move on to. I should call a vote for the agenda. Hearing none. That is so passed. I apologize for it being out of order there. Sorry, people. We have a development permit applications. We will start at 2.1, which is DP 2022-001.
Morning, everyone. I'm Suzanne Hayes, Development Officer with Wheatland County. I will be presenting all of the applications this morning for development permits. So the application before us is DP 2022-001 for a cannabis store. The location plan is found on page 16 of the agenda package, and it is within the hamlet of Gleason. On the same page, we can see the circulation map. I circulated to the entire hamlet of Gleason, and all of the comments that we received are on page 21 of the agenda package, actually. So if you'd like anything read, you can let me know. Otherwise, they are there in the agenda package. We did receive 7 responses in support and 14 responses in opposition. We also received 31 responses after the applicant had canvassed the community on April 3rd, and those are also in the agenda package. We circulated to internal staff. The Deputy Regional Fire Chief said if it's approved, they would require a fire inspection and occupancy load permit. The peace officers said we suggested crime prevention through environmental design audit be completed on the property. And the safety codes officer, building safety codes officer, said each of these applications will need a building permit of their own as the use changes. We circulated to agencies, the AGLC, who had no responses at the time of this report, the Gleason RCMP, who did acknowledge that they received the circulation but did not have any response. Siksika Nation had no responses. If we go on to pages 17 and 18, just some aerial photos of the building. So the proposed hours of operation are 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., 7 days per week. The building design will be in accordance with the AGLC requirements. They're estimating approximately 20 customers per day with 1 delivery per week. There is angle parking in front of the building and additional parking at a loading area in the rear. 100-meter setback from a provincial health care facility, which such as a hospital, a school, or an MR parcel, is designated under the Cannabis Act. And the proposed location is approximately 25 meters east of the public library and 30 meters southeast of the community hall. There are photos of the proposed building on page 19. So the location is in conformance with the land use bylaw for setbacks, and it defers to the provincial minimum setbacks stipulated in the gaming, liquor, and cannabis regulation. A non-policy evaluation is that regardless of the above, as a discretionary use within the Hamlet Commercial District, MPC has the discretion to approve the application or refuse as a non-compatible use or vary the conditions or hours of operation if they deem that appropriate. Pages 10 and 11 of the agenda package, we have the recommendation from staff. And staff are recommending approval of the application with the conditions. Some of the conditions are prior to operating. They must provide the provincial license, building permit, fire inspection, and have a SEPTED audit. The standard 3 response options are found on page 14 of the agenda. And that is that MPC can approve the recommendation or not approve, or can provide an alternate recommendation of their choosing. Please let me know if you have any questions. Oh, actually, the applicant has also requested that a letter be either read by MPC or that he be allowed to speak as well.
Thank you, Suzanne. In regards to the letter, Suzanne, the owner has already submitted a letter. There's a letter, I believe I have read a letter from him already in here.
Correct. There is an applicant's letter in the package, and then he submitted this letter a couple days ago after everything was already complete and the deadline had passed.
I'm not sure if I'm allowed to offer an opinion here, but this is not a public hearing. He's had his, the owner has had, has his say. If we allow him to counter the arguments, then everybody else that has got the letter will not have had the ability to counter that argument. So I would recommend against reading the letter into the deal, but that's, I'll stand on the commission's, what the commission chooses to do. Do we choose to read this letter into the package. Discussion on the letter part?
Just clarification, is this the letter here that was handed out to us
Correct.
with the pictures and everything?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's here. I think it's very clear. I'm okay with just the letter.
Would
It doesn't have to be read in, but we could take some time and read it.
Yeah,
You know,
would
give some
commission be fine with taking time just to read it, and then we just, for your own
Okay with me.
personal, is that kosher?
time. Just so it's, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take,
Commissioner Eicher,
yes,
Shannon here.
yes.
Would somebody be able to send me that letter? I don't have it. I don't believe.
Second, administration, is that possible?
Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. We'll get it sent out.
Okay,
It's coming your way.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And Commissioner Bigger as well.
excuse me, Commissioner Laprise or Commissioner Bigger, did you receive the copy of that email? No?
I have not yet.
I have not yet either.
Well, can either Commissioner Bigger or Commissioner Laprise tell me when they've finished reading the letter? Thank you.
Yeah, I just got it. Thanks. I'll let you know. Commissioner Eichert, I've finished reading the letter.
So have I.
Thank you very much. I guess we now will move forward. We have a request for decision in front of us. What is the Commission's wishes?
A question to administration. I believe when we had previously looked at a cannabis store application, there was the ability to do like a termed permit. Is that something that the commission could consider?
Yes, that's an
And
option.
haven't made up my mind, but thank you. And do you recall the term that we had done on the previous application?
I believe it was a one-year term.
Question on, let's say, if we were to adopt a one-year term, what's the onus on the, like, how much more is this going to cost the owner of the business to?
They would have, from our costs, they would have to reapply after 1 year, and it would be another $500 application fee. And they would have had to do whatever retrofitting needed to be done for the AGLC to the building and have their safety code inspections and that sort of thing. So all those costs would be in there too.
Would that, sorry, but would that not also, even if we develop, or we issue a development permit to say a dog groomer, and there's a list of conditions, we would not necessarily set a time when that needs to be, like a 2-year on it. That it's not a development permit, sort of a, if once you've got the development permit, if there are no conditions on it, that development permit stays as long as the dog groomer is in business.
Yeah, normally a development permit runs with the land unless you put a temporary condition or it is a temporary permit, like a home-based business. So it will stay indefinitely unless the business ceases to operate for 12 months, and then it would be void.
Okay, so, excuse my ignorance, so but in that case, if there were fire conditions and all that kind of stuff, how do we know that
That they're in compliance?
they're in compliance?
Right.
Thank you very
I
much.
think they would have to be in compliance prior to like the development permit being in effect.
And is it on this permit, do they not have to be in compliance before they start?
Yes, prior to
process.
commencing operations, the conditions are worded. They have to complete the SEPTED audit. It says for the fire inspection, it has to be completed and complied with. And for the building permit, change of use, it has to be complied with. And they have to provide the AGLC license prior to operating as well. So all of them have to be completed, the inspections, and complied with.
My concern would be that if we put a timeline on, we're putting an onerous, because we're going to be charging them more money. They're going to have to come back, and if they meet, I sort of understand where we're going. So maybe this should be in the discussion part of if we get a motion in front of us. So I'm still waiting for a motion, I guess, is what's.
Commissioner Eichert, if we're still discussing the letter, I guess my opinion on that is there's nothing really new in it. So I would, I don't think we need to read it into the meeting.
Okay, so yeah, let's take that. So everybody's had a chance to read the letter. Does Commission believe that letter should be read into council or into Commission, into the package?
I have the same position that you do because it's not a public hearing and because those, like others who shared engagement through the official engagement process would not have an opportunity to also respond a second time. I think for consistency, it's best just to have part of the public record the engagement that was during the engagement period, is my perspective.
Yes, as the package presented, yeah, this is after the fact. I think we just use it as information.
Okay.
But as far as being read into, I don't think it's necessary, no.
Okay, so I'm just going to go around the table. Commissioner Larson?
I'm same position as them. It's past the deadline. The other stuff came in. There's nothing new, so I don't see the point.
Thank you. Commissioner Bigger? Sure.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything new in it, so I don't think it has to be read in. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Laprise?
I also don't think it needs to be read in.
Okay, so I think we have consensus that we will not read the letter in to the package. I'm still waiting for a motion, so then we can do some discussions.
Excuse me. Were you
Yes.
going to also take a vote on if the person would be allowed to speak?
We could do that too. I'm of the same deal as of this is not a public hearing. And I understand that if it was my business, I'd probably want to defend it to the nth degree too, but this is not the place to defend it. We have the owner's thoughts on paper. I believe that's sufficient. I will go around and ask Commission's feelings on this. Commissioner Link.
Agreed. I think the applicant has provided a submission, and I've carefully considered that, so I feel like that's all that I require for my deliberations.
Okay. Commissioner Clausen.
Similar, it's all the information's here, I feel, and the process, have to respect the process, so, no.
Commissioner Larson.
I think we have to respect the process and not here.
Commissioner Bigger.
Yeah, I don't think we should hear.
And Commissioner Laprise.
I'm in agreement with everyone else, yes.
Thank you very much. The Commission will proceed. Suzanne, is there anything else that you... Okay, perfect. So I'm looking for a motion.
This is a difficult one. I read through all the information here, and there's some issues in Gleason that has been pointed out, but I don't think it'd be unfair to add that to a business that's not there yet. I have serious concerns about people's safety in Gleason, and it concerns me that there's a detachment there, and we have these issues. And I think that's something else we'll have to deal with this council, but I don't think that pertains to here right at the moment. I always like to support business because I know what it takes to start a business, and I know the amount of money that it takes to go and the thought process involved in it. So I'll make the motion that we approve the recommendation from administration and debate it out with all the conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Clausen. Discussion.
If I may, this is Shannon.
Yes, Commissioner Laprise.
So my concern with this, I guess, is that it is an owner who doesn't live in the area, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I believe the person lives in Calgary, and we've seen what the issues around the liquor store and hotel have been given an owner that doesn't live in the area. I feel like this is something that's going to benefit somebody outside of our Wheatland County residents in terms of the business proceeds and that kind of thing. I think that a lot of the people who wrote in favor, and in particular the ones that were canvassed by the potential business owner, are people that are generally known to police. So I'm not sure that we should really support their interests in this business. And just in response to the RCMP comment, I guess I know that the RCMP go there pretty much every day, a number of times a day, to patrol on Main Street, and I don't think it's really fair to say that they're not doing their job there. I think this would add to the issues that they have, and the only way they could mitigate it is to camp out in front of the place 24 hours a day. So anyways, those are my concerns. I'm certainly swayable, but right at this moment, I'm opposed to it.
Thank you. Commissioner Link.
I would echo some of Commissioner Clausen's comments. I've really been grappling with this and weighing different factors. I'm also persuadable and will obviously listen to the debate, but at this point I'm not in support of the motion. My primary reasons being we're aware that we have significant historical and current concerns in the community of Gleason. Issues and letters that were shared by residents around loitering, violence, challenges with the proximity to the library, consumption in proximity, recognizing that, there are some references to that in the application. My main concern is we do have laws, whether like around the violence or our public behavior bylaw, but my concern is that I don't think that from what we have seen in the community, we have sufficient capacity either within our own bylaw services or within our CMP to enforce the laws. And I think that the impacts within the community, recognizing that cannabis could have potentially different impacts, I think there's some rationale for anticipating that there would be some similar impacts like the loitering and things like that, that would be very challenging to mitigate through any conditions, particularly given the limit, like the constraints on capacity that we have for bylaw enforcement and law enforcement. So I will not be supporting the application for Gleason.
Thank you, Commissioner Link. Anybody else wish to say anything?
It's Donna here, Commissioner Brewer. I wish that the RCMP had done a response. I guess I feel with them not responding, I feel that they don't really support it, I guess, thinking that if it was something that would really help the community, they would have stepped up. So I'm inclined to not support the motion. I think that if we're trying to help Gleason, this is would not be one of my first steps. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Bigger.
I could respond.
Yes.
So some of the, I understand the reasons that people are opposed, but if an owner is out of county or out of the area, I don't think that should be pertained. We have lots of businesses within the county that are owned off-site. I'm just to start out here, I'm not a supporter of cannabis use. I think people know me personally, know that's not my thing. But I've also seen the change that has happened federally and pushed down, and we've tried to deal with this in a different way. I just don't feel that we can stop it, to be honest. And we have several of them today, so it's just shows the changing of the times. There's a difference between a liquor store consumption and a cannabis consumption, and there's probably some documentation to show that which is safer and which is more violent. So there's that too. So I'm just defending my position.
I have a question for administration. What happens if we deny this and then it goes to an appeal?
If the application is appealed, it would get heard by I'd have to double check if it would be the LRPT or the SDAB, our local board, since it has an AGLC affiliation. But one of the boards would hear the appeal, and then everything would be back out on the table. So it could be approved. If it was denied and then appealed, it could then be approved, or it could be approved with different conditions. Or, if we approve it and one of the other people that were the ratepayers that were against it appeal it, again, it's back out on the table. Everything is open again for a decision.
Commissioner Link.
Just want to acknowledge Commissioner Clausen's comments, and just to clarify my position, I'm in no way opposed, specifically to a cannabis operation. It's more the concerns, and completely recognizing it's legal, no issue with that. And I did do a little bit of reading just about, potential different impacts from cannabis versus alcohol, and I don't disagree with that. Where I don't see an ability for us to mitigate is around the loitering and to actually enforce our bylaws that are already in existence. For example, the public behavior bylaw there's a bylaw that prohibits public consumption of cannabis, and so I'm concerned. I don't think we have the capacity to enforce that, and I think that would be significantly exacerbated by having a supply in Gleason. And then it's just within the context of the current challenges that we already have in the community and the potential impact to quality of life that we could see for residents in the hamlet. So just so that I'm clear, and I do commend anyone who is taking that risk and looking at starting a business, and I appreciate that immensely. And my hope is that we will see some business development in Gleason, and it is a concern around loitering and enforcement of bylaws and impact to quality of life of residents who we already have heard where their quality of life is being impacted. So just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
So I'm just going to throw in this is so new to us. This is a totally legal business. If it was another business moving into Gleason, would we look at it? I know we have problems. There are problems in Gleason. There's problems currently right now with loitering in Gleason. We have no idea whether or not this is going to add to that. We are just guessing at it, because this is so new. I look at what I have in front of me. Our staff says that this should be approved. So if we go against this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm thinking MPC is going to have to hire some lawyers in order to defend the situation if the owners take this to appeal.
To the chair and MPC. It gets complex sometimes. We've had examples, the commission has had examples in the past with respect to that. Staff always evaluate after the decision of MPC to see what the merits were for the decision, for new conditions, or if MPC is opposed to it and turns down a permit. So what we would do is we would evaluate, obviously, the merits of the discussion, the rationale, ensure that it is sound, and then staff can take a position to ensure that either we can kind of go forward with proposing the merits as to why the Municipal Planning Commission denied a hypothetical permit. If we have challenges, we can certainly seek counsel to your question. So it can work one of two ways, but staff certainly will evaluate any decision that MPC makes today with respect to this permit in discussion.
I would not be opposed to putting up like a 2-year sort of review this in 2 years and see what's happening, whether or not this is negatively impacting, because I think bylaw and the RCMP will both have a better idea whether if this is making the situation a lot worse or if it's not impacting the situation, so we sort of have a standard right now what the loitering is in Gleason. That's in my mind. And if we allow this business to go forward and have them reapply in 2 years, or have staff maybe review this in 2 years to see what's going on, because this, I don't know. This is so far out of my realm. This might be the most wonderful stuff in the world. I don't know. I am like Commissioner Clausen here. I do not use imbibe, but I know lots and lots and lots of people that do. Are we, if it's relatively, I'm just, the government legalized this because they didn't see a huge problem with it. And if they've done it, and if they don't see a huge problem with it, is it not ours to sort of go along with what they sort of think, and then just say, well, let's, like, somewhere along the line, we have to, at some point in time, we have to figure out what this does to society. And I think, like, I'd feel comfortable if we review this in 2 years, review the permit in 2 years, and see what has happened in Gleason. I would feel comfortable with that. Commissioner Link.
I definitely hear what you're saying. I guess I'll draw a distinction between a cannabis retail store and a potential other business. I'll use ice cream as an example. If somebody were to open an ice cream store in the same location, and somebody purchased ice cream and took it outside and was consuming the ice cream, that would conceivably not cause any concerns or issues for other people in the area or on the street. Whereas, and we do have a bylaw that, and again, I'll just be very clear with the differentiation, does not preclude consuming ice cream on Main Street in Gleason, or food from the grill, or that, other types of businesses that could happen, or opening up your hardware goods or whatever, that type of thing. The reason we don't have a bylaw for that is because it doesn't create a nuisance or an impact on others in the area. Whereas with this particular product, there is a possibility and perhaps a probability that it could create those nuisance issues and impact the quality of life. We saw that outlined in some of the letters, recognizing that it can happen because cannabis could be brought in from an off-site or from an illegal source. My concern is specific to this community, the impact that we could see by increasing sort of the supply or the option to purchase right in this community, and specifically in the downtown area where we already are experiencing significant concerns and issues for the residents in Gleason. And as the councillor of the area, I know how challenging it is for the community. I know the impact it has on day-to-day life, and I don't want to see a decision that we make exacerbate that even for 1 or 2 years. And I did contemplate that, but I'm concerned for the impact that it could potentially have. And as well, just reiterating, I don't think we have the capacity to be enforcing that, and that just creates its own set of challenges. Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Clausen.
So since it's been legalized, I've talked to quite a few people, and I'm shocked the amount of seniors I know that will utilize product to relieve pain, let them sleep, do whatever. They go to legal stores and buy it. And they could, they're not violent people. They just want a place. So if I look at this from that perspective and that lens, so we have seniors out in the communities, and if they need this, they can go buy it here instead of driving to Strathmore or go wherever else. Believe me, I feel the same concerns you have about this kind of stuff. I think that's something else that the council needs to focus on and look at that in a different light and not put that on this business. We don't know that they're going to influence that behavior or anything like that. It's an unknown. I would accept an amendment if you wanted to do a 2-year. My only thing about that would be I don't want to see them have to jump up to current building standards or current whatever changes. My fear is when they come in 2 years' time, something could change, and then it's going to cost a business owner couple $20,000 to upgrade something that's my only fear, that if they have to go through that same process. Furthermore, number 12 here, with our own the crime preventative through environmental design, that is something that has been developed in-house. I believe we've taken some courses. Our peace officers looked at that. I sat on SWAT with them and learned about it, and it's a really good, gives the business owner a different lens to look through and see where their weak points are and stuff, and they're dealing with that up front. So I think there's some preventative measures here. So, and I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
I will also just jump in. This is a new this is a new thing, and we'll go back to that. Like, this may not add anything. I understand what you're saying about the loitering and all that kind of stuff. And we have rules about vaping and that kind of stuff, where you can and cannot vape, and whether or not this is going to include vaping. But we don't know the clientele of the business that is going to be using this. I mean, when I go to the liquor store and I buy a 6-pack of beer, I don't crack that 6-pack of beer outside the liquor store. That's because that is not what I do. So the people that could be using this store, they may be just the same thing. They're going to buy their product, they're going to go home, and they're going to consume their product in their own house. I just can't see how we can just judge people. We're just judging people by what. If this was another liquor store, I could say, yeah, we can. Yeah, what is in the past could probably carry on in the future. But this is a completely different business, and I think we might be biasing ourselves by thinking that the very worst is going to happen here. These people they've crossed all the T's, they've dotted all their I's. I believe this business, they're taking a chance with their own money. They could very well, and they're going to be creating jobs in Gleason. Our problem with Gleason is we've always wanted that perfect business in Gleason, and that perfect business we have not seen it yet. And this might be one step. I don't know, but I believe that this deserves a chance, and that we review it in a couple of years. And I mean, if it's a disaster, then we can just say, well, we tried. We now know the direction that cannabis stores are going to, like what we have to look forward in a cannabis store. So I will be voting for this. Any other discussion?
Commissioner Eichert,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to say that given those arguments, I think if we had a 2-year or some kind of a term assigned to it, I would be on board. You're right. We don't know if this is going to create more problems that are already there. So, as long as we don't lose control of it, I'd be supportive of that.
Yes, administration.
Just to clarify through the chair, Commissioner Klassen put the motion on, and there was an acceptance of the amendment.
There wasn't an official ask. If we need to do it officially, we can do it that way too.
Yes,
yeah, just reading the room and hearing what's going on, I think in light of, I would accept that amendment to keep it alive. Does that make sense?
So just to clarify, so this, in 2 years, what is going to happen? Are we going to is administration going to just review this, or are the owners going to have to come before us? And can you answer this question?
Yes, we can issue it. Excuse me, a temporary permit, but it will have an expiry date, and then they will have to reapply, and we will reevaluate it with MPC at that time.
And then so when they reapply, will it go through? Will it have to do this whole thing again?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Link.
I'm still not supportive of the motion, even with the amendment. I would perhaps, and I still won't support this, but I would perhaps ask the commission to contemplate a shorter term. I believe we did a 1 year for a previous applicant in another community. And I also just wanted to draw the distinction that while from complaints and concerns that I've heard in our county, I haven't heard concerns about product being purchased at a liquor store and then being like opened and consumed outside the store in other communities, but that is frequently a concern in Gleason. And so, well, I would not necessarily take the position that I'm taking in another community in Wheatland County, given the context of Gleason. I just want to reiterate, we have had unique concerns and unique issues. The reason I'm asking for contemplation of a shorter term, if the commission chooses to go in that direction, is I'm just trying to imagine 2 years of somebody's life potentially, and acknowledging that we don't know what the the full impact of this could be, but of them experiencing that for 2 years as they're, going about their daily lives and trying to enjoy downtown and get their mail and groceries and that type of thing. We do, within the land use bylaw, under Hamlet Commercial District, it does say that the purpose and intent of this is to accommodate a diversity of retail service and commercial activities that benefit the local community. And again, I'll just implore the commission to consider potential ways that this would not only not benefit the community, but could negatively impact the community in terms of non-compliance with bylaws and laws. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Link. So now we might have a bit of consensus on there being a time limit. Yes, Commissioner Clausen.
Being that's my motion, I want to stick to the 2 years, and the reason being is listening to the concerns and stuff, I believe a lot of that can be mitigated through enforcement. Those are laws that are broken. If we need to step up enforcement via RCMP, we have them in here and we could talk to them about that, and we need to come up with a plan to clear up some of this stuff, which we don't even know if this business is affected. It would cause any further contribution to that. So I just feel that right now, 2 years' time, it gives everybody a chance to come back and the public has a chance to say what they need to say, and I think our other one is probably coming up here pretty soon from another municipality. Hamlet, sorry.
Oh, the one that we did before, I don't think that one ever got off the ground. No.
Okay, Commissioner Link.
Acknowledging the comments that Commissioner Clausen stated, I just want to emphasize that I think it would primarily be our peace officers who would be responsible for enforcing our bylaws. Through conversations with our CMP previously, there simply isn't the capacity to enforce bylaws. I believe they have the ability to, but typically there's not the capacity. And just emphasizing that our own peace officers also cover a 1 million square kilometer county and are responsible for enforcing a significant number of bylaws that have impacts to our infrastructure and things like that. And so we have, finite resources with infinite sort of needs across the county, and that's part of my challenge, is if we're adding sort of something to that and just our responsiveness to that. And I think that could reflect poorly on us as a council if, we have bylaws in place and then just either lack the capacity given our resourcing to enforce those. And let's be honest, even with targeted sort of focused enforcement of things, that's sometimes just a very short-term impact. So thank you.
Well, I've got a question that maybe administration can. I am looking at the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act, which is provincial?
Yes, through the chair, it is provincial act.
Okay. So there's a whole bunch of, so under a provincial act then, who's responsible for enforcing that act?
Through the chair, Police service of jurisdiction, as well as our peace officers have authority under the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act to enforce certain sections of it, and the public usage of cannabis sections are part of our enforcement abilities.
Okay, so using that, so theoretically, because the RCMP are contracted to the provincial government, they are responsible for enforcing this act.
Correct.
So because they choose not to do that, is that our responsibility? I mean, what would happen if our police, our police officers chose not to do any enforcement in Gleason on anything that is under the Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis Act? The RCMP would have to enforce that. Is that not correct? Because this is their act. I am reading from their act that no person shall smoke or vape cannabis in any area or place where the person is prohibited from smoking under the Tobacco and Smoking Reduction Act. Correct. So if we did not enforce it, theoretically, they're supposed to enforce it, and then we're supposed to help them enforce it. Is that sort of not the way it is? Like they've got overreaching jurisdiction?
Through the chair, when it comes to the provincial acts that we have authority under, it's kind of the same as. They don't overreach it on that aspect of it. They can enforce obviously more sections of the act. We can enforce sections that deal like with transporting in vehicles, selling to minors, minors possessing, and use in public. But it's not a them versus us. It's we're on the same playing level with that in enforcement of that law.
So, okay, but still, theoretically, they have a police station.
Yes.
They have a station in Gleason.
Yes.
This should be their responsibility. And if there isn't the enforcement, then it is something we should be talking to K section or whatever we call this, and demanding that they do that they enforce this law. Is that not right? So I don't see how this really should impact if we're adamant about this. I believe that we have grounds. We contract out this police service to uphold the laws, and this isn't our law. This is Gaming, Liquor, and Cannabis. Isn't the County of Wheatland's law. It's provincial government's law. So I think 2 years is fine, and if we, after a couple of months, we start having, I think we should immediately start lobbying the government, the RCMP, and say, look, we want where you have a detachment in town, in any town that you have it in, we want beefed up enforcement. I believe that should be doable. So I'm good with I'm good. Are you going to add 2 years to the, like a 2-year review to the?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I will accept that amendment. Friendly amendment.
Okay. Well, we've gone around this long enough. I will call the vote.
Have to go around the table.
There will be somebody will be exception of the vote, so then it'll be a roll call vote. So we have a
Amended motion.
We have a motion in front of us that has a 2-year. How would that 2-year? What would that read? Sorry.
This permit is to be issued for a 2-year term expiring on April 12th, 2024.
You'll accept that, Commissioner Clausen?
Yes, I will.
We have a motion in front of us. Is there anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Hearing some opposition, I will call a roll call vote. Commissioner Lenk?
Opposed.
Well, Commissioner Eichert is supportive. Commissioner Clausen?
In favor.
Commissioner Baker?
In favor.
Commissioner Laprise?
Given the renewal period, I'm in favor.
Commissioner Larson?
I really don't know, but I'm going to say opposed. But
That is passed on a 4-2 vote. Thank you very, very much, everybody. This is difficult, I understand it. But
Yeah, thank you for the debate.
Yeah.
It's not an easy one.
I mean,
It's a different,
and
totally
I
different.
think the only way we can do this is by doing it, I guess, is like, so we'll move on to 2.2.
Chair
Yes,
Eckert, can we have just a 5-minute?
A
A 5-minute break, yeah.
Yes,
break.
5-minute break. We'll
Yeah.
come back at 10 o'clock, 10:01.
we never last this long at the MPC, so I have an 11 o'clock. So I'm going to unhook and I'll just dial in after.
Okay,
Okay?
perfect.
This is to see the lawyers for General and District Solid Waste. Oh, this MPCs, they never last more than an hour.
We'll start at 2.2, DP 2022-40.
Hello, this application is for a liquor store, and it is proposed to be within the truck stop at the Origin Business Park. And the location plan is on page 94 of the agenda package. And we did circulate to landowners within 1 mile. The circulation map is on the same page, page 94. We did receive 5 responses, which are begin on page 97. 4 of them you would have received, or they were in the agenda package, but one of them came after the fact, but before the deadline. So if MPC wishes, this can be read into the record.
Yes, please, I believe. I'd like to
You
hear
said
that.
it was prior to the deadline?
It was prior to the deadline.
I support that.
Okay.
Commission's
Did
wishes.
anybody
Everybody
volunteer
agree?
to read it for me? Yes. Thank you.
Matt from administration, I'll read the letter into the record for commission and the commissioners on the line as well. Ruben Waldner, April 3rd, 2022, regarding DP 2022-040 for liquor sales and DP 2022-041 for cannabis stores, which is the subsequent application that the commission will hear today. So to whom it may concern, we are writing to oppose the development permits for both DP 2022-040 liquor sales and DP 2022-041 cannabis store on Plan 101-1307 B1 L2 Origin Business Park. The truck stop seemed like a reasonable business, as there is not much for truck parking in the neighboring communities. We have already seen an increase over the years of people coming down the road. We have had incidents where people have driven through the yard at a high rate of speed, chased by our CMP officers. We were the ones that found that dog that had been dragged by a lady with her car. We have had a shop busted right next to us. I don't believe having a liquor store and cannabis store open from 10 a.m. until 2 a.m. out in a rural area is congruent with rural lifestyle. Will there be increased police presence in our rural area? How will this be patrolled? We are aware of living with commercial development. We have seen it going up across the highway for the last several years. We don't believe a cannabis store and liquor store are a fit for this area. Why would this need to be a service available to transportation professionals when it is against the law to use these products while operating a commercial vehicle? If this is not the intended base of customers, who are they besides the rural residents? And we have had multiple stores in the surrounding communities close to us that offer these products. A quick Google search shows that Strathmore has 10 liquor stores and 5 cannabis stores. Langdon has 4 liquor stores and 1 cannabis store. Chestermere has 9 liquor stores and 4 cannabis stores. I would hope that council may recognize that it may be imprudent to approve this DP based on the ease of access to purchase liquor and cannabis in the surrounding communities. As a local resident, we are concerned about these services seemingly being offered to the commercial transportation industry and the additional non-resident traffic that it will attract to the area. We truly hope that council will consider if these businesses are necessary or even appropriate in this area. Undersigned, Ruben Waldner and family.
Thank you. The circulation to internal staff, we had the Deputy Regional Fire Chief recommending a fire inspection and occupancy load permit. The peace officers had concerns about selling liquor and cannabis so close to a retail gas station with no place to stay close by. There is an increased risk of public consumption of both items and then operating motor vehicles. And also with the building layout, will it be designed with the crime prevention through environmental design elements? So that has been added as a condition. We circulated to, and safety codes is also, I think I didn't put this in the report, but safety codes did say that they will also need a change of use permit. Agency circulation, there was no response at the time of this report from the AGLC, from the Strathmore RCMP, from Rocky View County. Alberta Transportation did say that they need a roadside development permit, which they are in process. They've already submitted. They're just waiting for the permit to be issued. The overall truck stop did receive a permit. On pages 95 and 96, you can see the site plan, or the aerial photos and the site plan for the entire truck stop operation. So the permit for the truck stop was issued in 2021, and it was a requirement that associated businesses would obtain subsequent development permits. So the only ones that got a permit in the actual truck stop was the gas bar convenience store. And so anything other than that needed its own permit. So this proposal is for a liquor store to be located within the truck stop building, which will offer various alcohol products for sale. They are proposing a 2 a.m. closure. And I did provide some comparisons in the body, the details of the report and what the other businesses in the truck stop are proposing. So some policy evaluation. We don't specify a setback for a liquor store from any other business, including a cannabis store. So it would be at the discretion of the AGLC. The Commercial Highway District does list liquor sales as a standalone use. It is not specifically contemplated within the truck stop definition, though. And the Commercial Highway District does not provide an alternative use other than a truck stop where multiple commercial retail uses could be situated. So if somebody were to want to do a strip mall that had a cannabis store and a clothing store and whatnot, that is not allowed. There's no other use that allows for multiple commercial uses within one building, like one strip mall. So a non-policy analysis is that the definition for a truck stop indicates that it is intended to be used for overnight temporary parking for truck drivers or motorists needing fuel, rest, or food. A liquor store is not typically what you would expect at a truck stop and may not be compatible with the intent of a truck stop. Regardless of that, as a discretionary use within the CH district, MPC has the discretion to approve, to refuse, or to vary the conditions or hours of operation if deemed appropriate. So on pages 88 and 89, staff have provided their recommendation to approve it with conditions added that stipulate prior to operating, they must provide the provincial license, a building permit for a change of use, a fire inspection, and a SEPTED audit. And we also did propose that the hours be no later than 12 midnight, rather than the 2 a.m. closing. That was proposed. So the standard 3 options are found on page 92, and that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. I'll move that the Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-40 for liquor sales, subject to the listed conditions. Discussions?
It's Rick here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I do know that in town of Killam, there's a truck stop that has liquor store in it already, so it's not unheard of that that happens. I don't personally understand why, but I know that it does happen. That's what all I have to say.
Thank you. Any more comments?
Councillor Larson, LaFreeze here. I just want to say that I do find it an unusual location, but I guess I'm not opposed.
Thank you. Commissioner Clausen.
Yeah, I think back to when we first looked at this proposal, and I never ever thought someone would go to put a liquor store or there's another one in here coming for the same location. I understand from a business perspective, because of their hours of operation, what they're doing, they're trying to get, different incomes in their building. So I do support it, but when I'm looking at the drawings on page 96 here, when we say it's a truck stop, and I look just a side note, where I look where the diesel islands are and stuff, I foresee a traffic jam. Because there's no flow through traffic, and I'm going to see 53-foot trailers backing onto Durham Drive, there's going to be a wreck. Like, this is not, I'm surprised this is the way it's gone. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's not what I thought it would be. After I drive by and look at all the design and everything, it's definitely different. So I do support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Clausen. I agree with, I understand. It seems a strange choice, but I believe they have done their due diligence. They have done what, and it's permitted, and I think that it could be a good, a good business. But it's there again. It's not us to decide whether the business is a good business or not. Whether it's the business is whether they followed all the rules. So, yes. So I will call the vote. Is there any opposition? Hearing no opposition, I deem it passed. We will now move on to, DP 2022-041, the cannabis store.
So a lot of this is similar to the previous application, so I'll try not to be too repetitive. So this is for a cannabis store, again within the truck stop, and the location plan is on page 114 of the application. And again, the same circulation area within 1 mile, the same 5 responses with the one that was previously read. And the same responses from the Deputy Regional Fire Chief, the peace officers, the safety codes officer, and the agencies. Again, no responses at the time of this report, with the exception of the Alberta Transportation, who is asking for a roadside development permit. On pages 115 and 16, again, we have the site plan and the aerial photos. A permit, again, was issued for the truck stop. This is for a cannabis store to be located within the truck stop building. The proposed hours of operation were, again, 2 a.m., 7 days per week. And the comparisons were found in the details of the report. Policy evaluation is the same, except for there is a 100-meter setback within the gaming, liquor, and cannabis regulation, which our land use bylaw defers to. So it's saying it's meeting the 100-meter setback from a provincial health care facility, a hospital, school, or MR parcel designated for a school. And again, a cannabis store is a standalone use within this district, and there is no other multi-purpose use that it could go under. So this, again, is not typically what you would see in a truck stop, but staff are recommending on pages 107 and 108 that MPC approve this application, and we have added the same conditions that they must provide the provincial license, they must get a building permit, a fire inspection, a SEPTED audit, and we have reduced the hours to 12 midnight rather than 2 a.m. And the standard 3 options are found on page 112 for MPC to consider. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. MPC's wishes. It's not everybody speak at once.
I just have a comment. I thought that liquor stores and cannabis, they couldn't be sold like so close together. I thought there had to be certain setbacks between the two. That must have changed, I take it.
I was not able to find anything that said that, so I deferred to AGLC to make that determination. I don't know if a peace officer has any more information on that. I couldn't find anything that said that.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-041 for a cannabis store, subject to the following conditions.
Thank you, Commissioner Laprise. Is there any opposition? Anyone against?
No opposition, but I'd just like to discuss a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
So-
discussion. Sorry.
I plan on supporting this, but I'd just say, I understand people, it's an odd thing, but I foresee us in the future becoming like it is in the States, where you go into a grocery store and you're going to buy, it's the way things are going. You'll be able to buy liquor and everything like that. It's going that way. It is your personal choice when you go into a building and what you buy and what you consume or use and jump into a motor vehicle, and you will be charged as if you do it. I go into a building every day and I used to smoke and I don't buy cigarettes. You know, it's your choice. So yeah, I'll support this. It's odd, but I'll support it.
Thank you, Commissioner Clausen. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Any opposition? Hearing none, I deem it passed. We will move on to DP 2022-047. Thank you.
So this application is for a cannabis store within the hamlet of Clooney. The location plan is on page 132. And also the circulation map, we circulated to the entire hamlet. For copies of the circulation responses, it's found on page 135. We did receive 2 responses in opposition. Internal circulation, the Deputy Regional Fire Chief again wants a fire inspection and occupancy load permit. The peace officers do want a SEPTED audit to be completed, and the Safety Codes officer wants a change of use permit. Agencies, the AGLC had no response, the Gleason RCMP had no response, but did acknowledge receipt of the circulation, and Siksika had no responses. On page 133, you can see the just the aerial photos / site plan. It was previously a cafe, was operating in conjunction with the bakery on the site. However, in recent years, the cafe had ceased to operate. So this permit proposes to utilize that space in order to operate the cannabis store from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday to Sunday. A few photos are on page 134 of the building. The location does comply with the land use bylaw setbacks, which defer to the provincial minimum setbacks. A non-policy analysis, again, MPC has the discretion to choose differently than what the recommendation is stating. In conclusion, on page 127, we have the conditions. But staff are recommending approval of this application with the same conditions as on the other ones that we've reviewed. So they have to provide the provincial license, get a building permit for a change of use, have a fire inspection and a SEPTED audit. And MPC has the 3 standard options, which are on page 130. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. Commission's wishes?
I'll move that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-047 for cannabis store, subject to the conditions outlined.
Thank you, Commissioner Laprise. Discussion.
I'd just like to make some comments, I guess, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
I think, given that, so this business, previously to the cafe being opened, it did have a liquor store in that location. I see that Clooney doesn't have the issues that Gleason necessarily has. I mean, they occasionally do, but it's certainly not the level that we see in Gleason. I'm hopeful that the owner of this business, as being a longtime resident in the area, will be to take pride in their business and make sure that it is neat and clean and doesn't affect the neighbors. And so, for those reasons, I support it.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I will call the vote. Is anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, I deem it passed. We will move on to 2.5, which is DP 2022-053. Oh, look, a dwelling accessory, something different. Thank you.
Yes. So this application is within the hamlet of Carsland for a non-cannabis store dwelling accessory, and the location plan is on page 144. It was circulated to adjacent landowners +1. It was not circulated to any agencies. It was circulated internally, and we did have some discussion with the manager of technical services regarding the parking and where they would be parking, because he did not want congestion in the cul-de-sac. So they've amended to add a parking pad along the alley on the east side. He also provided a few options for servicing, and they will discuss with that utilities and manager of technical services the best option for the servicing of the second dwelling. On page 145, we have their site plan and some aerial photos. The proposal is to construct a 559 square foot accessory dwelling, and the primary residence is 1,157 square feet. And the dwelling does meet all the setbacks and provisions of the land use bylaw, so there are no variances requested. On page 146, there's a couple of illustrations of the proposed dwelling and the primary dwelling. The parcel is large, pie-shaped, with adequate room in the rear yard for this dwelling, and no responses were received from adjacent landowners. So on pages 137 and 138, we have staff's recommendation, which is to approve. Sorry, is that right? Yes, 137 and 138. To approve this application, subject to conditions, which include the new access location and submission of a servicing plan to Wheatland County satisfaction. And MPC has their standard 3 options, which are found on page 142. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Suzanne. MPC's wishes.
Councilor here. Sorry. I'll try to get. I move that Municipal Planning Commission approve DP 2022-053 for a dwelling accessory subject to the following conditions from 1 to 6.
Thank you, Commissioner Bigger. Sorry. Discussion. I've just got a question for, and this is probably not the point, but this might not be but when you're talking about building and putting in an accessory dwelling into into a hamlet, and this is strictly into a hamlet. I've done one of these in the city of Calgary, and there are sort of hard and fast rules what you have to do in the city of Calgary. In the city of Calgary, I believe you have to have your own. You have to have your own. It has to be metered, so that it has its own electricity. But you can and that was you had to have that. That was part of the permit, and then tying in, you could use the existing house and the existing water from the existing house. But that all depended on whether or not there was enough size in the existing house. Like if the existing house has got 8 bathrooms, then you're probably going to have another service because this would be too much. So I'm just wondering where does this go? Like we should probably look down the road there should be, because I can see this is going to be happening. It's very common if you drive down, like in Langdon, on the bigger lots and that kind of stuff. You're seeing quite a few of these, and I think we should have rules. This probably isn't where you set the rules, but it just would make it so much easier for us. When yes, they're going to have this. This is our, and that's all I've got. So.
Yes, and I did have that discussion with the manager of technical services because I said, isn't there just something in place that people apply for these and this is what they have to do? But he read their bylaws and the way it's worded, that is not how it's worded right now. And also there's any that we've had in a hamlet, every time it seems like a different situation. So one was Clooney, so they, have partial servicing and whatever, but I thought that kind of that would be helpful to have it so that the people don't have to come up with their own servicing plan, but that's not how it is right now.
I will direct administration to maybe look into that down the road here for us.
Sounds like a good committee of the whole, something discussion in the future.
Thank you. Yes, it does. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call the vote. Is anyone opposed? Hearing no opposition, it is passed. 2.6, which is DP 2022-006, I believe. I believe we received something. It's a sign requirement.
Yes, DP 2022-058.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, they had applied for this permit, but it was a bit late to get it into the circulation and everything and get it on this agenda for today. But they are under some time constraints because they said SO cannot open without this being posted. So they just asked, is there anything we can do, such as a temporary permit? So that's why this application is here. And staff are, so the circulation, my thought was to bring this back at the May 10th MPC meeting, having completed the required circulation. And in the meantime, this temporary permit could be a possibility. So there was a multi-use sign approved with the development permit for the truck stop, but they've moved it. They were going to put it right on Durham Drive, and now this one's going to be out right in Highway View. So the proposal is to place one freestanding sign there on the north side of the parcel adjacent to Highway 1, and then a freestanding sign by the card lock, and then some fascia signs just on the canopies that are over top of the fuel island. So the applicant has advised that the signage for the gas station is required to be installed prior to the targeted opening date. So some considerations. I'll just bring up some of these photos. The page numbers are not really valid, what I can tell you, but you can see the site plan in the appendices Appendix B has the site plan showing where these signs are going to go. And they are characteristic of a commercial highway development. The largest freestanding sign is adjacent to the provincial highway and requires approval of Alberta Transportation, and the fascia signs will be placed in locations that will not impede traffic flow or sight lines. And there are illustrations of the signs and then some photos of the gas canopies where the signs are going to go. So on page 2 of the report, staff are recommending approval of the temporary permit just until the May 10th MPC meeting. And MPC has their standard 3 options that they can approve this or not approve it or something alternative. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Suzanne. Well, I'll move that MPC Planning Commission approve DP 2022-058 for a freestanding fascia signs subject to the conditions 1 through 6. Discussions?
That's basically the temporary permit. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
I just want to let them. You should let them know that there is going to be a very large sign of the Wheatland County sign, and that will. It's not there now, and it might not show up with Alberta Transportation. You just don't want our sign them to put them in a spot that was going to block them. It doesn't look like it by the drawings, but just to let them know that will be there.
Certainly, I don't know where the new county sign is going, so if somebody can provide me that information.
Yeah, through the chair, just to Commissioner Bigger, absolutely. There will be coordination on that.
Yes, Commissioner Clausen.
Just an interesting note on this. We're talking about signage, but the scale lights are before that intersection. So if the scale lights are on, this is going to be a very busy place.
Yep.
Guys will be diverting into there and waiting for the scale to close or go around.
No, there's nothing we can do about that. Yeah. Any more discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. Is there any opposition? Hearing none, I deem it passed. I believe that brings the meeting to an end. It is so adjourned. Thank you very much. Appreciate all the hard work you folks put into this one.